The decision to remove the blood quantum requirement for Muscogee Creek Nation can and it will be a monumental impact on our tribe. This decision deserves more than my yes or no answer. I believe we as a nation need to gather the required evidence to support or approve or disapprove or oppose this proposition. I think we must handle this situation responsibly, and I don't think reacting in haste is in the best interest of our nation. I also believe that this is a decision of the people and not the National Council. It should be something that is put to the vote of the people. Article 3, Section 2 of our Constitution is where this blood quantum is talked about so much now, and so I really believe that is something that is a decision of the people. But again, I believe it's something that evidence should be gathered, and we should study before we do anything along this line. Thank you.
I've really had to do a lot of praying about that, and I just have decided that I don't want to be a part of that discussion at this time. I just feel like that has created a divide in our people, and I don't feel like that's excuse me, who we are about as Creek people, and that's certainly not who I'm about. So I just feel that those that are trying to create a wedge by trying to push the issue, that just creates a divide with our people. Because what I do want to talk about are those things that are more important, those things that I talk to people about out in the community, at Walmart, at our wild onion dinners, at our community events. There are so many other things that aren't causing a division, but are important to Creek people. And those issues are things such as being able to understand and know what our financial stability is and diversity for our tribal businesses. What, excuse me, employee protection for those that work here at the nation, better, stronger laws for sexual harassment. And what are we going to do about keeping our at-large citizens informed? Those are the questions that are being brought up the most. Those are some priorities that we really need to make sure we're meeting, as well as many other issues, even protecting our vulnerable adults, our veterans, our children, and our families. Those are so many other priorities that we have. And I feel like that right now, with all of the information or all the questions about lowering the blood quantum has caused a division in our tribe. And I just respectfully decline not to make that a discussion and to make that grow. And I feel like that what we need to be doing is making sure that we're looking, that we have a vision, and that vision is to move forward and to move all Creek people forward and to ensure that we are making progress for all of our Creek citizens. Thank you.
The Muscogee Constitution states that a full citizen shall be eligible for office. I stand by the Constitution as written today. In the future, our changing tribal demographics may cause us as a tribe to reevaluate our blood quantum. Our Constitution is written for the people.
Yes, I do. Blood quantums were begun in 1705, our Virginia colony, when they wanted to take away the civil rights of Indians. The United States of America, with respect to the Creek tribe, didn't begin with this blood quantum until the Dawes Commission started meeting, and they decided they wanted to include blood quantums along with the allotment of lands in eastern Oklahoma. Now, this is a product of white racism and also a product of white socialism and science theories to do away with the Indian tribes. There's no mention of a blood quantum in the 1866 treaty. There's no mention of blood quantums in the Constitution that the Creek Nation signed in 1867. This particular portion of the Constitution of the Creek Nation today was placed into the Constitution at the request of people after the Harjo versus Kleppe case ordered the Creek Nation to either use the 1866 Constitution or a new Constitution.
The blood quantum should be voted on by our people. Thank you.
I'd work on a plan that would require such a plan of all of our MCN investments. I believe that transparency means being honest about a performance even in times when it might be subpar. Our citizens deserve a set of frequent and relevant reports that provide insight into our investments. I'd like to see our tribal businesses be required to establish even a website that would post these quarterly financial statements and even our return on investment statements. I believe this financial transparency means letting our citizens know what is going on with our monies. So I would work on a plan that would require some of this transparency of investments. It's something I know that comes from the administration office, but I would do my part in helping getting this transparency of our investments. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I would like to see us pass legislation, create some laws that that ensure that we are making those meetings that we're making sure that we're making those meetings live, and so that tribal members have the opportunity to know what's going on during those committee meetings prior to the full council meetings. Making sure that we are providing that type of transparency. Why would we not want citizens to have access in live time, in real time, to those committee meetings? I believe that legislation was introduced previously but was not passed, because I feel like that's a big part of transparency. And that includes those that are non-confidential and I can't say that word, proprietary, in order for us to make things available for our citizens. We also want to require all business entities to provide an annual report so that all MCN citizens have access to that. Transparency to me, I'm just reading the question again. The transparency is that we're making information available to our constituents, that we're making that information and we're not leaving behind, and that in real time we are keeping citizens informed of what's going on, so that questions can be asked, so that they can contact their representative, so that at-large folks can also have that information in real time and be able to contact their representative to let them know what their concerns are, what their interest is in those investments that we are making here at the tribe. Thank you.
Financial transparency demonstrates clear financial records. When elected, I will collaborate with the council and ask that our individual financial entities, our business entities, provide their financial reports at our monthly council meetings.
Laws setting up the responsibilities of the controller need to be addressed with respect to this. The controller must have laws that can compel him to provide the citizens with the information they need with respect to the finances. I've had people tell me for years that they can go over there and they want to look at the budget and they tell them you can't see it. I don't understand what would be secret in a budget of a governmental business or the government of the Creek Nation. And the budgets should be available during regular business hours somewhere in the controller's office for them to look at. Audited financial reports need to be available also for the citizens to see, and those should be in the same location. And that includes all the businesses that the Creek Nation operates, whether they be a Creek Nation section or a Creek Nation company that they have formed. Qualifications of managers of businesses that are run by the Creek Nation should be readily available for the citizens to look at, and actually they should be examined with great detail before someone is hired, and many times these people are approved by the National Council.
We need to improve the financial transparency of investments made by the Muskogee Creek Nation by posting all of what is the transactions, any kind of business ventures on the websites. Also, if there's any behind closed door meetings, we need to limit them to at least the amount as possible.
I like the meet and greets that are being utilized by our MCN offices now. I think it's off to a great start. I also will use some of these meet and greets to reach out to our citizens, to our at-large citizens, because I believe this gives me an opportunity to not only discover, not only meet, but to discover what their needs are so we can better serve their needs. And I believe it's also a very important vehicle in connecting us as council members and even our MCN offices with our at-large people. I support the Tribal Liaison Office for At-Large Citizens, and after talking with quite a few at-large citizens, I'd like to see the office do more. I would support an increase in the budget to increase the office staff for the Tribal Liaison for this office, in hopes that it provide quicker response for all in-state and out-of-state inquiries, at-large inquiries. I would also like to see the Tribal Liaison Office to be able to provide information sessions and even maybe a question and answer session on a regular basis. If elected, I will attend all of the at-large gatherings throughout the United States that I'm able to. I feel like this is in order to not only be personally available to our citizens, but to meet and be able to discuss all these topics with them. And I have a strong desire to meet all of our tribal citizens. Thank you.
Well, first we want to determine if the tribal liaison at large position that we currently have, that how much communication there is at this point, what is being done to increase that, the accessibility, what the expectation of the office is, and at that point, if it's not to where we feel like, or at-large citizens feel that it isn't adequate, then what we want to do is make sure that we create a formal position for an at-large person to have that full-time communication or have that communication with our at-large citizens. So that would be one thing that I would like to see happen, is that we do. It's important for our at-large constituents to feel that although they're miles or states away, that they're a part. They're a part of our tribe and an important part of our tribe. So that would be one. And again, I go back to making sure that we have policy or we have some legislation that require us to have a live stream, so that, again, communication is in real time with our at-large constituents, making sure that that we are hearing their voices, and making sure that is that we are paying attention to the needs of our at-large citizens, and that they have access to the resources, as many resources as they can through the tribe. And if I'm elected, I will certainly maintain my social media and be able to communicate with all those that I do currently communicate with, and hopefully will grow that in order to provide as much information through social media as I can. My phone number will always be available, my email, my website. It will always be available for those that have questions. So I do plan, and I honestly, I have family that live outside of the boundaries in other states, as well as, good friends that I've made along the way, and feel that really it is truly important for us to all know as Creek citizens what is going on with our tribe.
The Muskogee Creek Nation currently has 3 entities that provide information to our at-large citizens: the At-Large Liaison, the Public Relations Department, and Muskogee Media. These 3 entities do a fabulous job at the moment providing information to our at-large citizens. One thing I would like to see when elected to be a council representative is to do a monthly live stream video to our at-large citizens to give them our perspective of why we voted on certain things and information that we can give from our perspective.
Number one, I believe that at-large citizens may constitute almost 50% of the citizenship of the Creek Nation. Citizens that live out of Okmulgee's boundaries in the state of Oklahoma have real difficulty getting any information from anyone at the Creek Nation with respect to services that are rendered. It's my understanding that they may have started in sometime recently a section to increase communications with these citizens. Those people who are in that section need to know what's going on everywhere in the Creek Nation and everywhere within Indian country within the United States. And it's no small undertaking. It needs to be done by citizens who have an excellent grasp of what this government does, and also they need to know what the citizens can get from the other governments, be they state or federal.
As far as communication for at-large citizens, we need to work on our relations with outside the boundaries of the Muskogee Nation. If we can work on our relationships with outside, maybe we can increase the benefits that we do carry for our at-large citizens.
Yes, I support citizens voting on any issue. This Constitution Amendment for the Free Press, I was one of 2 who pushed a petition to repeal the law that had come that was passed. I believe in free press, and I support a free press for an independent Muskogee media. Thank you.
What I do believe in is I do believe in free press. Good or bad, whether it's a positive or negative, I feel that the freedom of the press is important. It shouldn't have to be overseen by political office. Any of the elected offices, that should not be an oversight job for those positions. I feel like that the press does, that citizens need to have all the information that's going on here, and as long as the press is in oversight by either the executive office or the council office, it hinders any of the information that's coming out. It shouldn't be just a positive show for the chief's office or the national council office. I think that the truth needs to be told. I feel like that the press, again, whether good or bad, is making those reports, and I feel that they should have that freedom to do so.
Transparency and accountability come in many forms. I believe that information to our citizen is a right of our sovereignty. I believe in a free press and support a free press.
Question 4, do you support allowing citizens to vote on a constitutional amendment for free press? That's an absolute with me. Free press means the citizens can be informed. Creek Nation citizens have the right to know what's going on in their government, and the free press is the way to do it. Actually, Article 2 of the Constitution of the Creek Nation says we should have a free press right now, but sometimes these things need to be spelled out in black and white before everybody understands them. The Constitution of a free press, a mention of a constitutional free press, then ensures the free press will be funded before some of the other non-constitutional activities that a government gets involved with are funded?
I think every citizen of the Muskogee Nation deserves a right to vote, but at the same time, our free press is our communication to our people.
In the matter of the Freedmen's, because the complex nature surrounding the Freedmen question, and this is a complex issue, I don't think it's prudent for me to answer the question at this time. The Constitution states that the lineal descendants of the Muskogee Creek Nation are the ones who appear on the final rolls, or the Dawes rolls. And as a council member, you're to support the Muskogee Creek Nation Constitution. If elected, I plan to work with our National Council to determine the position and thoughts of our citizens. I do understand the urgency of this issue, and I will work with our nation and our National Council to bring resolution. As again, like in the first question, I believe this is an issue the people need to decide.
Well, I've always said this, and I truly believe this, that if you are Creek by blood, you're Creek by blood, and that we will continue as a tribe, continuing as descendants of Creek people.
The Muskogee Creek Constitution demonstrates that all citizens shall be that of Indian blood or lineage as recorded by the Dawes rules. I support our Constitution.
Actually, the Treaty of 1866 has already answered that question. Freedmen who were brought to this territory on the Trail of Tears and who lived here, the treaty says they are to be admitted as citizens of the Creek Nation, no ands, ifs, or buts. The treaty with the Creek Nation is even clearer than the treaty with the Cherokee Nation or the Seminole Nation, and federal courts have already addressed both of those constitutions and both of those nations and the 5 tribes, and I don't see why we need to waste money litigating it any further with the Creek Nation.
The Constitution states that you're Creek by blood, and I intend to uphold our Constitution.